So welcome back to The Couch, and super excited, another great Couch episode coming your way. Joining me on The Couch this time, this lady has spent the last 10 years working with LinkedIn and also with Facebook, now part of LinkedIn's global agency and channel sales team with a focus on partnering with the world's largest advertising networks and technology companies to develop innovative business plans and marketing solutions. Joining me for a chat on The Couch, from her couch to ours, the head of agency and channel sales for LinkedIn Marketing Solutions ANZ, Lara Brownlow. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Great to be here.
Lovely to see you. And of course, lots going on as we kind of balancing, I was going to say life after COVID, but there's still a lot happening. I think will there ever be life after COVID? We don't know. I think the whole new
Probably
normal,
not until there's a vaccine.
the new normal. Just a bit of an intro. LinkedIn now with 690 million members worldwide. That's probably even gone up since last time we spoke. 11 million are in Australia. It's the most used social platform amongst the Fortune 500 companies. And I suppose talking about COVID, with everybody locked kind of inside, some of us coming out, but obviously the poor folks in Victoria back sort of locked in again. Social media usage has been on the rise over this last period, with all platforms reporting significant increases, I'm sure, including the wonderful platform LinkedIn. What have you found, I suppose, with LinkedIn, some changes and things happening over COVID?
Yeah, looking at the statistics, it's actually quite, I had to kind of, just say, like, double check. Are these accurate? Because looking at the stats, I mean, we've seen from Jan to June, a 780% increase in engagement. And then on top of that, the amount of articles that are being shared, something like 950 or something around that percentage increase from Jan this year to June to where we are now. So we know that people obviously are working from home. LinkedIn is the business social network. So it's a way for people to connect more virtually. And yeah, we're seeing, continually huge engagement and kind of increases there, and something that it's not slowing down.
Yeah. I think, and it doesn't look like it's probably going to either, because I think we just get using social so much to connect ourselves, both, professionally and also socially, more so. One of the things I did find, which was interesting, was just looking at the kind of the top trending hashtags, if you like, probably over the last few months. And, if we look back to January 2020, the number one was hashtag marketing, then hashtag leadership. In February, it was the same. Number 1 and 2 were marketing and leadership. But then, of course, as we got into COVID in March, coronavirus and COVID-19 took 1 and 2 spot. But interesting enough, marketing was still in there and leadership was still in there. And I wanted to kind of probably touch on, thought leadership, because LinkedIn's seen as very much that thought leadership platform, the place where you can go for, really developing a thought leadership. How important do you think is it right now for executives and business leaders to really focus on their thought leadership on LinkedIn?
Yeah, and I think probably in reference to kind of your comment around the hashtags, what we're seeing is that people want to come to LinkedIn. They want to hear from the leaders of companies around what their view is on COVID, what's their company policy, really get some guidance from the leadership of companies. I think there's that trust barometer that says people will always trust people over brands, something like, double the amount. And so we see that there's a huge opportunity for leaders to really step up into the social and specifically LinkedIn, and be present and really be sharing their views on certain things. So I think, once upon a time, it was seen as a bit of an option, whether you wanted to, if you're a CEO or any type of senior leader, whether you were going to kind of focus on, where you're going to have a presence in the social space. It's really a necessity now, and it affects a lot of kind of business results, whether you're there or not.
I think also, like you touched on that, I think certainly in these uncertain times, I suppose it's not just like customers looking for brands to take that leadership kind of role, but it's also employees, who are on LinkedIn as much as our CEOs are, looking for that leadership, looking for someone to follow. Yeah.
Yep. The stat is that 80% of employees want to work for a social CEO.
Yeah.
And then to reference back to the customers, 2 in 3 customers say that their perception of a CEO affects their perception of a company. So they're, incredibly poignant stats for why you should be there.
So what about how, I suppose? So a lot of, we talk about that as a general term, as if everybody kind of knows how to create thought leadership on LinkedIn. I know some people do it better than others. Well, I mean, maybe starting with the profile on LinkedIn, the main thing that you have, your own profile. What are some of your tips that you would have that people could maybe follow to kind of help with this leadership?
Yeah, I think with the profile, the thing about your LinkedIn profile, it's less about your resume and more about your ongoing reputation, your business reputation. And if anyone's ever going to Google you, the first thing they're going to come across is your LinkedIn profile, which is public. And so really investing in making sure you have a really kind of tight profile is really important, not just for leaders, but for everybody, all members of the workforce. So, making sure that you really include your industry, because that's what people search for, industries, and you won't show up unless you've got your industry showing up. Being like, using a tagline, not necessarily your job title, having a professional photo, making sure you have a really solid summary about you as a professional, which is beyond what you're doing in your necessarily day-to-day role, which you would kind of build out in more your job descriptions. One of the other things is to use multimedia. So, you're doing a kind of a keynote, or you've any type of kind of video content. You can always share that on the profile, which makes it a lot more engaging as well. So there's a whole bunch of things that you can be doing. For me, it's really kind of like step one, and it's like saying, I'm going to spend half an hour, I'm just going to block it out, or I'm just going to invest in kind of getting the base right. And then from there, you can think about kind of building out from like, who am I connecting with? Now that I'm happy with my profile, have I connected with all my customers, my current customers, my prospective customers, people in the industry, and kind of go from there. So that's kind of very much the starting point.
Yeah, interesting thing that you mentioned there before, because I think one of the earlier points you mentioned is you have your name, and then underneath it you have your description. And a lot of people, and I don't know if this is the right thing to do, a lot of people, like if they're between jobs, will put looking for new opportunities rather than their skill sets or their previous employment. But that little part there is a lot of what people search for you, or you come up on search. Is that not right? So having more in there about what you do.
The whole, that whole summary, the whole profile is all searchable. So, I think actually if you're in the work, if you're kind of actively looking for a kind of job, actually having that, calling that right out is not necessarily a bad thing. There's actually no kind of exact answer. For some people it is having the job title, and that's fine, that works for them. For some people, at LinkedIn, people might say we're connecting, professionals, with opportunity, and that could be kind of a tagline, or helping marketers connect to professionals is kind of more what I do. But there are so many things you can do there, but it is a good call out.
And what about sort of people if they're looking at their strategy for LinkedIn? Because it's obviously one thing to get your profile right about yourself, but then who are you talking to? Like really understanding, like, who's my market?
Yeah, and we talk a lot about that, kind of having like a persona and setting a strategy. So, we really kind of see 4 kind of key personas: people that kind of are really product people, people that speak more about kind of the brand in its whole. We see people that are talking about the industry, giving great industry updates, and then we see kind of our members fall into kind of more human updates, more people and HR kind of style. So really think about kind of where your niche is that you would like to, and how that pertains to kind of your job as well. And then really think about, what do members want to hear? What's relevant? What's useful? What's timely? And then think about kind of, creating a strategy that then uses our different tools. So whether that be just sharing articles, but with always a really good so what. So a lot of people, I mentioned, we're seeing phenomenal increases with people sharing articles, but what's super important is when you're sharing articles, it's always making sure you call out, hey, why is this important to the readers and to my members and my network? Video is really exciting. So I know, Tony, you're a great person to follow because you're really kind of at the forefront there. But making sure that you kind of using all different types of multimedia. So we've got stories, which are live now for Australian LinkedIn members, which is super exciting. Stories is also great because it's a little bit more kind of lightweight. A lot of people really spend a lot of time kind of overthinking and stressing about when they're going to write a long article or share a video, piece of content. They want their heart and soul going into it, and it's quite nerve-wracking. Whereas I think stories is great for kind of more lightweight interactions on LinkedIn. You could be at a team building day and sharing a little article with the team, or teams out to lunch, or something that's happening exciting in your day-to-day work from home life you want to share with your network. So there's so many different now avenues. I think, the general rule is if you've got something quick, you can just share it via just the short form, and it's more kind of a timely post. But if you have something where you're more of the authority, you want to share more like a bigger piece, that's where you would kind of use our long form content, which is great because again, that sits back on your profile as a constant. And we're seeing some incredible people like Naomi Simpson, the amazing entrepreneur. She does amazing long form content. In the industry, the advertising industry, you see people like Ian Monsees, who's just incredible, who's the CEO of WPP. They are going through some huge creative transformation of the company, and he really writes about that and shares that with his network. So there's, multiple people that you can go and look to see kind of get best practice for that long form content. But one of the other things I would also say is from a kind of just general kind of thought leadership and kind of being out there and using LinkedIn to its best ability is don't forget just the ability to comment. And, everyone's very much focused on the content that they're writing and they're sharing, but also the importance of you engaging with other people's content, commenting, and how that is also building on your reputation as well. And then, sorry, I know I'm kind of rambling here, but then the last thing I wanted to say, just in terms of, creating a thought leadership strategy, there's so many things of like what you can talk about, but also kind of what tools do you have to talk about them with. But, LinkedIn is, it's about being authentic. I think in general, people in business, we vary so much, and it's not everybody that's, sitting in an office that's very kind of, business hardcore. Like, you can be free to be creative and have a laugh. I think as the LinkedIn platform evolves and people are bringing their true self to their work every day, you can bring your true self in that same vein to your LinkedIn kind of thought leadership.
That's an interesting approach, because I think that's become more evident, hasn't it? That last point, as we've come out of COVID, we've become more personalized. We've become more transparent, and our brand needs to be, our personal brand and also our business brand. People want to hear that we're doing it tough, or we're feeling it, or we're understanding it, very connected. Just going back to your earlier comment, you mentioned about stories that are new on LinkedIn. Just for those that aren't aware of it, does it work similar to stories on other platforms? You can link like a series of posts together into a collection, like a story?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's very similar to how it works on other platforms. Again, it's very lightweight. You can include stickers, photo, video, and I guess, as I said, this is really a big opportunity for you to do stuff that is, not necessarily something you would have ever kind of posted before on LinkedIn. It's a very different strategy. It's a very lightweight kind of tool to kind of connect with an audience. So yeah, it's been fantastic. It's actually not even in the US yet. So it's actually, Australia was one of the very first, I think Brazil and Australia, we were the first markets for stories. Very exciting. So yeah, it's really, really new. I was probably a couple of weeks old. Yeah. So, it's going to be a really interesting space to kind of really see how our users pick that up and start to engage with the product. And then obviously from there will be more opportunities from brands as well.
Yeah, it's interesting times, and it's always nice to hear that, Australia is being used as a not a test bed, but a launch, I suppose, for us to get involved ahead of our friends in the US. I like to also like the creative ability I think people can start to think about now for LinkedIn. So not only do you have your stories, you mentioned video. Cisco has said in their study that by 2022 there'll be 82% of online content is going to be video. So I think using video more so is a personal way of creating your content, but also helps build the leadership, your thought leadership.
Absolutely, and it can be with video. It can be highly produced and kind of working with your marketing teams and your communications team, or it can be quite lightweight as well. So with our kind of live video product, our VP of Marketing Solutions, Penry Price, who's based in New York. Our New York office is so gorgeous. It's based in the Empire State Building, and he does this kind of walking to work kind of series in New York, where he's just literally doing the selfie. Hey guys, this is what's on my mind. And when I talked about personas, he does a lot more kind of around the human resources and kind of things like Black History Month and all sorts of different topics, and recommends books for us to read. And it's such an amazing kind of tool from it's super engaging, and he gets incredible kind of feedback. But it's very lightweight for him. He's not spending forever kind of, working on that. So there is, it doesn't have to always be that heavily produced. There is a real spectrum there.
Yeah, that's great. And I think that's what people originally probably have thought of with LinkedIn is, you know, when you think about thought leadership, until we've kind of unpacked it a little bit in this episode of The Couch, has always been that I've got to have a long form blog post. It's got to be a well
Yeah,
thought out piece of thought leadership. But really,
yeah,
just people are interested to know what you're thinking. You know, if you've got something
totally.
interesting to say, it's all about the content, isn't it?
Yep.
So what about the future? Like, what's kind of in the roadmap there for LinkedIn? You mentioned the stories for brands. You know, the marketing evolution of LinkedIn. Obviously, we've got you know, people doing live events and live broadcasts on the platform. Where do you see things trending in 2020 and beyond?
Yeah, I think for us, really kind of there's a couple of things. The first one would kind of be kind of moving to, you know, our kind of virtual events and live kind of products that we're seeing a lot of customers already utilize. You know, with a lot of the kind of big tech companies that we would work with, they would do big in-person event marketing. And so everybody, including LinkedIn, is really pivoting into this kind of more virtual world. And we see that that's going to be a trend for at least the next year, but also because of COVID. But I think then you have learnings beyond COVID around how this can work, perhaps sometimes better than an in-person event. So it'll be, I don't see this as a kind of a, just a kind of a hot phase that we're kind of going through. I think it's kind of just the beginning. So we have launched new products around our events, LinkedIn events that tie into our LinkedIn Live product for companies. So where you can post an event, get it out to all of kind of the people that follow you, as well as other kind of people that you are targeting through advertising, and then host the event through our LinkedIn functionality live on the platform through the event, or they can be standalone products as well. But we're seeing phenomenal success there. A recent case study from Domo in the US, they had 12,000 attendees
Wow.
turn up, huge engagement. Locally here, EY Australia is an interesting one to follow. They've been really doing a lot of great LinkedIn Live panels and getting a lot of their kind of partners that are kind of industry partners talking about specific industry topics, how it relates to COVID, with, you know, different kind of panelists coming on, which have been fantastic, unbelievable content. So yeah, there is huge opportunity there. I think we're only really, it's like, to be honest, the full on events and LinkedIn Live together only really launched about maybe 6 to 8 weeks ago. So again, it's still very new for us, but we're seeing a lot of kind of brands really flock to that, and I think we'll continue to see engagement grow there.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have any questions on that, but I'll pivot to kind of one of the other trends.
Well, the only thing I was just going to say, Lara, is just, you know, from what I'm hearing is I think people, what I'm taking away, and I'm sure people watching this will think of, you know, instead of LinkedIn as a specific part of the funnel, you know, where you might think, oh, I just need to share my stuff out. I just need to think of it as an awareness at the top of the funnel. It's actually more of a full funnel. Because you've got your stories, you can bring people down through, you know, nurturing through the funnel, you know, your live events, your webinars, you promoting. So your LinkedIn's kind of moving to that kind of almost like a full funnel platform.
Yeah, we are. And I think in the past, probably over the last few years, and this is not just the LinkedIn concept, but digital media has been very much a demand generation kind of channel where kind of everything is acquisition, tied back to acquisition goals. And what we're seeing now more than ever, and a lot of work being done around the globe, but that certainly I wouldn't claim, but with Benaim Fields doing kind of all the work around the branded demand, the IPA in the UK, and here locally at the Ehrenberg Institute out of South Australia. There's, you know, huge amounts of work being done around what is the right mix of brand and demand gen to get like the ultimate best performance. And, you know, what we've found is that we've been kind of skewing way heavily into kind of demand gen for LinkedIn and for a lot of online, as I mentioned. But we realize now it should be around 50-50. And so that was the other trend I was going to talk to. So you actually handed it to me quite well. But we're starting to see the brands that are really winning on LinkedIn are really understanding the importance of having that emotional brand message and appealing to kind of a broader buying committee in B2B versus a kind of real rational IT decision maker B2B style marketing that I think has its place, but really I think we've evolved a lot from there and we're seeing much better results. So yeah, a good example I would say of that is Salesforce in Australia. So again, like giving examples if you're kind of wanting to kind of follow how they're doing things. Salesforce, they really have a really strong brand presence. They're kind of everything from their logo to kind of their imagery, everything, and it's very consistent. Amazon is another really good one to follow, doing some really great brand work that I would kind of recommend looking at. And then a local example again would be St. George Bank. So we've kind of been looking at, they've been doing some incredible kind of really strong and consistent branding. And then lastly, just because we're, talking about branding, one thing that we are noticing too is the importance of longevity in your branding. So a lot of marketers are measuring kind of in a 3-month period, kind of trying to get those uplift figures and kind of seeing what's working from a measurement point of view, where a lot of the most recent research that we're seeing is it is really a 6-month kind of long, always on strategy of having that kind of branding in place.
Yeah, I think it's definitely down to frequency as well, isn't it? Like a lot of this stuff, a lot of this stuff is it's again the old story. It's you only get out what you put in, and I think a lot of people, they put like one post up and then sit back and go, well, that didn't go very far, but they're unknown in the environment. And I think also. I think also that there's a lot of businesses that have that scattergun approach where they think they've got to be on every media channel. So they've got to be on Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn. And because of that, they're scattered rather than deep diving into the one that really matters. And, for B2B, LinkedIn makes great sense from thought leadership and also, for their brand building as well.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, we've covered a lot in a very short time, but really appreciate you joining me on the couch and sharing some insights. And I'm gonna deep dive and have a go at these stories. I think maybe we'll create a couch as a story or something. I don't know. I've got to play with it and understand.
I love it. And spoiler alert, one of the exciting things that will be coming in the horizon is stories for brands. So not launched yet. As I said, it's really kind of robust, growing that members habit. But, very shortly we will see that opportunity grow for brands. So again, really exciting to see that. It can be video, static, in the same kind of formats that you see from other kind of platforms. So watch this space.
Sounds like we'll have to have another session on the couch when that comes out, just to keep us updated with all the latest technologies. But really appreciate you joining us, Lara Brownlow from LinkedIn on the couch.
Thank you, Tony. Bye-bye.